Hello and welcome to the number one championship podcast, The Second Tier. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the reality of this game to my expectations for this game. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Here we are, ladies and gents. We are reacting fresh off the back of Burnley v Leeds on this Monday night. Probably the biggest game of the season so far in terms of billing. Somebody should have really told the players that, really, shouldn't they? Because we are serving this episode fresh out the oven. We are also broadcasting live onto our YouTube channel for the first time ever. So, with that being said, we want your guys' input. If you are watching live on YouTube, if you're listening to this not live, then make sure you subscribe to the Second Tier YouTube channel because we have several Monday night games coming up over the coming weeks and we'll be doing a live reaction show off the back of each one. So if you want our thoughts straight out the oven, then make sure you get involved and join us for those in the future. But to mark this special occasion, Justin, before we get on to the action, I say action, what we've just seen this evening. If you're watching this live, then today is your lucky day because we are giving away 2 pairs of tickets to a championship game of your choice. All you have to do is leave a comment in the live stream chat and we'll pick 2 winners to be announced at the end of the show. It really is as simple as that. So make sure you get involved there, as well as giving your thoughts on what we've just seen from the past couple of hours. But yeah, let's dive into the game, Justin. Considering this is a special occasion, our first live stream, reacting straight off the back of a championship game, could have really done with this game being a bit more dramatic, couldn't we? Because it wasn't a classic by any means.
Oh, yeah. I mean, define classic. It depends who you are in this scenario, right? If you're an Jose Mourinho lover, for example, big fan of defensive football, then you're salivating like anything at this one because it really was a defensive masterclass. In inverted commas, if you like.
Yeah.
That's me trying to sell the game. But the reality was, yes, we needed drama, even a slight elevation in heart rate, which we did get towards the end. That James Trafford save did spike my heart rate by about 10 beats per minute. That's about it. But unfortunately, yeah, we weren't given a classic. But, you know, what a way to kick things off on this mini YouTube series, this mini YouTube adventure we're embarking on.
Yeah, well, we couldn't have asked for a bigger game, could we? And I've been looking forward to this game all day because I've been thinking to myself, Burnley have a great habit of really sticking it to the big guns in this league when it comes to their automatic promotion rivals. Leeds, of course, top of the league, been the best team in the division so far. So I was really looking forward to it. And then first shot on target in the 89th minute. It's the game with the 3rd lowest XG in the championship so far this season. Which, it's considering we talk all the time about great games, which are great advertisements for the championship, this certainly wasn't it, considering it's a Monday night game. I imagine you've got a lot of neutrals tuning in to, because it's a big game in championship standards. And we certainly weren't given that at all, were we, Justin? It was very much a disappointment in that regard in terms of the entertainment spectacle. But you're right, it's 2 great defences, isn't it, coming up against each other, and that's probably the reason why they've cancelled each other out here.
Yeah, stodgy encounter. It's one you need a couple of rennies after. I think that's how I'd describe it. You've maybe overindulged a little bit in previous weeks with an abundance of attacking football in Championship, and this one's your cleanser. For the rest of the campaign, if you like, or the rest of the month. But I think what you've got there is 2 teams coming into this game. I wouldn't say with nervousness, but with they didn't play like they wanted to come out of their shells, if that makes sense. They were very much, as I say, a defensive mindset first. I mean, look how many attacks broke down for Leeds throughout the game. It was very frustrating to see that as consistently as it did, especially in the first half. Leeds dominated and played pretty much in Burnley's half, but how often did we really see Leeds getting to the Burnley's penalty area? Not very often, and that was the frustrating thing. And when you got the amount of attacking individual talent that Leeds have, didn't see enough of it, and I think that's the frustrating thing. When you've got big games, you need your big game players to turn up, and Burnley and Leeds, none of them really did.
Yeah, considering these are 2 of the best teams that we have to offer in the Championship, not saying the 2 best teams, 2 of the best teams, then in terms of attacking quality, that was certainly lacking, wasn't it? I haven't written down many notes for this game, Justin, to be honest. I've written down Connor Roberts' moustache. That was something that piqued my interest.
Yeah,
I think
as a moustache lover.
I was going to say, considering you are a man
His is
who...
a pencil moustache.
Okay.
It's more of a sophisticated, bit of a 1940s edge to it. I'm
Mm.
a big fan of it, but if you want to go full bush, then you got to go for this one.
I don't know if he was going full bullshit. It was quite
No, it wasn't.
similar. It's quite a similar tash to yourselves. I don't think the referee helped things in this game. I felt he blew his whistle, stopped the flow of the game quite a lot. And Lord knows we needed a bit of flow in this game, didn't we? But yeah, I don't really have much else to say, Justin. We've got a couple of comments from some of our people watching this on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. We've got this from Elliot Ardron, who asks, "Is it the worst championship game ever?" What do you think?
It's up there, isn't it? The other one that came straight to my mind.
In terms of
is
expectation
yeah,
wise, it's certainly a big contrast between what we actually got, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. When you got, again, the amount of quality that both teams have, yeah, sure, it's a terrible game of football because what they served up was just a stodgy performance, as I've already explained it. But the other worst championship game that comes to my mind is the playoff final that had Reading and Huddersfield in it. Again, big spectacle, big game, and it was possibly one of the most boring encounters I've ever experienced, and one that you just sort of wish you had to turn off, but you can't because it's a playoff final, you've got to watch it. And similarly with this one, if we weren't covering it, like this, I'd have turned it off.
Yeah, we've got another message from Peter Heppel here who asks, are we doing our match against Borough on Monday, lads? Which I assume he means Sunderland v Middlesbrough. And yes, we are, Peter. We'll be doing live streams off the back of all Monday night games coming up because we've got loads coming up for the next few weeks. So we will be covering all of these. And hopefully they're a lot more entertaining than this, Justin. I think one thing we can say here is it seemed like both teams were happy with a point in this one. Would you say that's probably fair?
It got Scott Parkered, I think. And if a game gets Scott Parkered, I think it's more or less, yes, you are happy with a point. I think Parker will be happier with the point than Daniel Farker because I think Daniel Farker's he's experienced that title-winning campaign before, hasn't he? He's got that knowledge, he's got that know-how, he's got that drive to want to win every game. But unfortunately, this Leeds team isn't as chaotic as that Norwich team, which I think is what it needed to edge this game. If that makes sense, you needed a bit of chaos, you needed a bit of excitement, a bit of a maverick in the game, and no one really took that mantle from a Leeds perspective. And that's where Scott Parker comes in. Scott Parker comes into it, and you say yes, he is happy because he'd be much happier. He's taken 4 points off Leeds this season. He's kept 2 clean sheets against them. And I think he's very much playing the division, which you've got to praise him for. He's taking each game as it comes on at its merit, and I think that's a smart thing to do. He just wants promotion, and that's a sort of mentality I think is actually really good management.
Matthew McManus is a Leeds fan. He commented saying, "A proper tactical battle. Manager saw it as a must not lose, but I'll take the points." And I think that's probably just about fair, Justin. I mean, proper tactical battle is a very... How can I put this? A very kind way of summarising what was a pretty dull affair. But it was a tactical battle, wasn't it? I think Matthew's absolutely right. Both teams didn't want to lose this because they knew that it would really give the other a proper advantage in terms of the automatic promotion race. And it probably was just one of those where both teams didn't want to lose. That's why it was so cagey, really, wasn't it? And Kelvin has pretty much summed it up here. Calvin Wilkinson, he's commented saying a pretty drab weekend for all of the top 4, really. And yeah, I think that brings us nicely on. I mean, we've managed to drag out nearly 10 minutes of what was one of the worst games. It really is. It really is, Justin. I think we've done well, mate, so far to get to this stage. But yeah, I mean, FPL Hayden, he's pointed out that only one of the top 7 won this weekend, which is a shame that we lost to Bristol City on the weekend with him, obviously. Obviously Hayden being who did Bristol City play this weekend? I can't bloody remember now.
It's been a while. Obviously, they played Blackburn, but
yeah,
I think that's quite. It speaks of the I wouldn't say unpredictability of the Championship because I think that's one of its selling points. Because I think it'd be unfair to try and sell the Championship off the back of this game. But you look at none of the teams really taking a handle on this weekend is quite interesting. But again, these teams aren't aware of each other going into it. It's pretty much playing each other at the same time, or pretty much 3:00 on a Saturday. So this one is it was a must not lose, and it was somewhat a bit of a tactical battle if you like. But it was a game where I think both managers will be happy with that point, happy with that clean sheet, take it into the next game. But with the lack of teams really taking control this weekend, again it just keeps things very open for us. We've still got this title race, promotion race, which is what we need as neutrals. So whilst this game was terrible, it's opened. It still keeps things open for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's certainly a positive way of looking at it, and it is definitely shaping up to be a really, really tight end to the season into it. This automatic promotion race is really, really hard to call at this stage, and this game helps with that, even though the 90 minutes as a whole wasn't the greatest spectacle. But I think it is interesting, just in that all four of the top four in the championship this season drop points this game week. I can't think of too many occasions where that's happened at all. So with that being said, out of the four teams in the top four, who do you think has benefited the most from these sets of results over this game week? I'd probably say Leeds. Would you agree with that?
I might say Sheffield United, because if Leeds win, obviously Leeds will benefit because Sheffield United lost, and they take points off Burnley, if you like. But I think Sheffield United not turning up against Hull and no one capitalising on it, it takes the pressure off them going into the next game, if that makes sense. So I think Sheffield United, even though they lost and Leeds drew and Sunderland drew, I actually think they benefit out of this weekend because Sunderland don't gain ground on them, Burnley don't overtake them, Leeds are still within reaching distance. So actually, I think Blades have done really well out this weekend.
Okay, yeah, I could see why you would say that, even though they have lost 3-0, so it was a bit
bad
strange
weekend for them, but it could have been a lot worse, which is what I'm trying to go with.
The fact that they started the weekend as well, they were the first game of the game week, weren't they? And they probably thought this was going to be a disastrous weekend for them, but then they've come out and on Monday night and thought, actually, we're only 1 point few off than everyone else has gained 1 point. That's it, really. So, I could see why you would say that. The reason I would say Leeds is because, first of all, they got a point away at Turf Moor, which is a tricky thing for them to do. They probably would have looked at this and thought, maybe had a good chance to get all three, although having said that, they didn't exactly have many chances, did they, from this game? But I think they would look at it and go, look, we've got a point, and heading into it, the two other teams who weren't involved in this game, being Sunderland and Sheffield United, they both dropped points this weekend. Leeds have gone to one of the toughest places in the Championship, and they've managed to get a point out of it. I think that is why I would side with Leeds who will look back on this game week and say, this has been a pretty decent week, or it's been the best week for us out of everyone. What do you think to that, Justin? Do you think that's fair?
I somewhat disagree because I think Leeds will probably look back on this and go, maybe it's points dropped, because it's hard to say who was the better team in this game, but they dominated territory, didn't they? They spent most of the time in Burnley's third, and I think I've been a big defender of Leeds, haven't I? Compared to yourself, you've been, I would say, a little bit more critical. I wouldn't say overly critical, but your observations have been on the negative side of things in terms of them not being at foot, in fifth gear, if you like. Whereas I've been, okay, well, they're just taking each game by game. But I think this is one where they really could have shown up and dominated and turned that domination into chances, and it didn't, and that's what left me disappointed. So I think them coming out of this game week and saying that they've been the better recipients of the weekend, it's really hard to say, because as I say, I expected a lot more from them performance-wise. They didn't get it. I think that's the other side of the coin you can argue. But as I say, it's a game that they've not lost. They've taken a clean sheet back to Ellen Road. You can smirk a little bit coming away.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what you were saying there, Justin, about me being a bit more negative about Leeds this season than you have been. I think this game is kind of a microcosm of why I've thought that. Exactly. And do you want a spicy hot take right now, Justin? Do you want a piping hot take here, right now?
Yeah, it's
here
live.
We go. Here we go. It's live. I've got a live mic, ladies and gents. They won't be able to silence me. This is inevitably going to piss off every fan of any of the top four teams, but I don't think this is the greatest standard automatic promotion race by championship standards in recent years. I think whoever wins the league this season will probably be the weakest title winner we've had in a while, because you look at the four teams who are competing for it currently. I can't say I've had many occasions where I've watched them and been blown away by any of them. Consistency wise, they don't seem as comfortable putting away sides as previous promotion winners. And I mean, Leeds are a great example of that. In terms of the underlying data, they have been by far the best team in the league. If you just judge them on their underlying data, you go, yeah, they have been absolutely blowing teams away. But I don't think that's been the case. I can't say I've watched them too often and been like, wow, they were sublime in that game. And any Leeds fan annoyed by that comment, because I'm sure there will be some who were annoyed by that. Can you genuinely look at this team and say it's on the same level as the Bielsa team from 5 or 6 years ago? I'd be surprised if there are any out there who think that. And I suppose another thing to say on that is you've got this Leeds team, which finished third last season. They lost three of their star players over the summer, have a weaker squad, in my view, than last season, and now the top of the league. So that's why I don't think it's the greatest standard automatic promotion race. Don't get me wrong, obviously, automatic promotion, a great achievement, and this looks like it's going to be an exciting race, which is going to go right down to the wire. Probably one of the more exciting promotion races we've had in the Championship in a long, long time. But that's my spicy hot take for you just now. I think it's going to be a tight one, but I don't think it's necessarily the highest standard compared to previous iterations of automatic promotion races. What do you think about that?
I think I'll agree with you. You know what? When you put it like that, I think that's a bit more of an eloquent way of describing it as you've done in previous episodes. I'll add.
Thank you.
I too have not been blown away by Leeds, but I've been a bit more forgiving in terms of them chipping away at wins. Taking teams. I do think if Leeds had their squad of last season with the likes of Somerville, or maybe just Somerville actually, we might be having a different conversation. If they had a bit more of a convincing number 9, don't get me wrong, I think Joel Pirro is a good goal scorer and a clinical forward, but he's not quite the Pirro of Swansea, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Look, the easiest way to sum it up is Manor Solomon is not Crescencio Somerville based off the performances we've seen this season. Jorginho Ruta is a much better player than Brendan Aronson based off what we've seen this season. Yes. That's what we're talking about here, isn't it?
Exactly. And again, you compare it to the individuals, and they do make a big difference. I think Brendan Aronson has been quite good this season. I think he has grown into the campaign. But he's not Jorginho Ruta in any sense. So yeah, I do agree in that sense. But actually, no, I think the reduction in quality has opened things up. You've not got a Leicester running away with it. You've not got a Fulham running away with it, as we've had in previous years. You've got 4 teams of different styles, different levels of experience. You've got Regis Lebris doing absolute wonders at Sunderland. You've got Chris Wilder doing Chris Wilder things, as we know he can do. There's a lot of variables, and I think that makes it more exciting. So actually, maybe the reduction in quality is a benefit to the neutrals. Maybe not to the teams that are involved, but to us, to everybody who's watching now or listening on the podcast. Yeah, it's good for them.
Yeah. In terms of the excitement and how unpredictable it's going to be, it's definitely one of the best promotion races we've had in a long, long time, because I can't remember the last genuine top 2 race we've had in a while. And right now it looks like it's going to be pretty tough to call with, 17, 18 games left to go to Justin. So that's why I don't want to diminish, the quality or the, unpredictability of what we've got left to go for this season. And it's summed up pretty well by Umar Mackham, FC, who's a Sunderland fan. He commented here saying, still wide open. There will be ups and downs. He's hoping we will be up there come the end of the season. I hope Sunderland are as well, Justin, because if we've got a top 4 race, if we've got a top 2 race with 4 teams still involved all the way to the end of the season, that's going to be blooming exciting, isn't it? But Justin, we are, of course, it's chatting right now with just over exactly a week left of the transfer window. And both these teams may potentially be looking at this thinking we've still got time to cut in some, get some business done. So with that being said, what do you think we can expect from these two in the last, week of the transfer window?
I mean, Burnley signing John Joe Shelby. I'd be surprised if they end their business on there. But that being said, they've re-signed Ashley Barnes. I don't know what the 25-man squad looks like at the moment, but I'd be surprised if they make any more moves unless there's an outgoing to make room for an incoming. So, and they got players. And you look at La Fossa in the team today. There's room for him to grow and improve. We've not really seen him hit the heights this season, amongst others. So, I don't think Burnley will be too busy unless there is an outgoing. In terms of Leeds, again, January is such a terrible time for, I think, top clubs going after. I say top clubs, Championship clubs going after players who are going to improve their squad. And when you've got a squad as good as Leeds, you've got to pay a little bit more. And if you're going to try and get a youngster from the Premier League, again, you're going to have to wait and bide your time. So it's going to be a last minute thing. But it's, again, unless Leeds go out and get a different type of 9 who is maybe a bit more comfortable with his back to goal, who's going to add depth into that final third, then it's really, I don't see Leeds doing too much more business either. So, yeah, it'd be nice for them to be busy, because I think this game highlights the lack of individual spark that both teams have, in big moments, in tight games. But at the same time, I think they're both comfortable with what they've got, which is absolutely fair.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely fair. I mean, I did see Leeds being linked with Emi Buendia, which would have been a ridiculous sign if that were to come off. But I think he's going to Bayer Leverkusen now, from what I've seen. So you're absolutely right. It's really difficult for teams like these to get players in a January window who are going to significantly strengthen them, aren't they? So that's why you've got the likes of Burnley signing, no disrespect to him, the likes of John Joe Shelby, the likes of Ashley Barnes, players who I think will just serve him in the dressing room and add a bit of depth in the squad as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure how much these two are going to actually do before the window closes. Of course, Burnley were looking to strengthen going forwards. Morgan Whittaker, but he's now gone to Middlesbrough, so whether they looked for an alternative to him, we'll wait and see. But it's gonna be an interesting one in the final week of the transfer window for the automatic promotion race. Not necessarily these two, but I think Sheffield United and Sunderland, they're both looking to get some business done before the window closes. So it could be something that very much decides how things swing in the final third of this season, Justin, as we approach the business end of the season. We have this comment here from Luke Farrell, who said, "I love Trafford, but cutting holes in your tights is utter woke." What do you think about that, Justin?
Yeah, cutting holes in socks, I think, got a lot of reaction when that became a thing. I think cutting holes in tights is that beneficial for James Trafford? I mean,
I don't really understand the cutting holes in socks thing.
Well, to be fair, socks are tight, aren't they? And if you've got, massive calves, like some footballers, Jack Grealish, for example, is abnormally massive, his calves. So I imagine the compression you get isn't exactly comfortable, especially when you're running. So that makes some sense. But that being said, can manufacturers just not make socks that are a bit more stretchy? I don't know. But tights, I mean, you wear tights on a Monday night when you play football.
Yeah, they're not the most comfortable, I've got to say.
Why do you got holes in them?
Maybe I will. It's more because my tights that I wear on a Monday night, I don't know where we're going with this conversation, but I have a zip at the bottom which really digs into my ankle. It's because they're so tight that you need a zip at the bottom to basically pull them off.
Are they tight, or are you...
I've just got massive calves, Justin. I'm Jack Grealish when it comes to my calves, like please Zerdan Shaqiri with my massive chunky legs. But anyway, I think that's just about time for us here on the Second Tier podcast. But before we go, it's time to reveal the winners of our ticket giveaway. We have received dozens, hundreds of comments even, and we can now announce our two winners. Congratulations to Matthew McManus and Russell Stubley. You've both won a pair of tickets to a championship game of your choice. Get in touch with us by emailing secondtierpod@gmail.com to claim your prize, and we'll be in touch with details on that. But as we alluded to earlier in the show, we're doing this again, another live stream and reaction pod off the back of Middlesbrough v Sunderland next Monday, where we'll be giving away another two pairs of tickets. So make sure you subscribe to the Second Tier YouTube channels, get involved with that, and join us for the live stream next week as well, where hopefully we'll have a much more entertaining game than the one that we've had just now. But anyway, this has been the Second Tier podcast. We'll be back again on Thursday. We'll be talking about all the latest news from across the old Champo. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. But this has been the Second Tier podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening and watching.